It's like launching into space.
And we are live.
Hi,
Hello,
Heba. How are
Ashish.
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All well at my end. Crazy week. Good start to the week also. Good to see you too.
Good to see you as well. It's been a while, and I thought it would be a good idea to go live and have some energetic session where people can join us and ask questions.
Yes, absolutely. I
Uh,
was looking forward to it too.
Me too. Today we're
I
going to
hope you're
talk
not going
about.
to ask me some tough questions, I would say.
No, I will ask you good questions. Don't worry.
Yeah, keep it light and easy for me. It
Yes,
feels like an exam now.
we're just having coffee together.
Yeah, let me also calm my nerves then with the coffee.
So, as you know, today we will be talking about personalization at scale, scaling up personalization using growth management. We want to learn how to stay ahead of our competition, understand growth management. We will take also a short dive into CDP segmentation, AI, and machine learning.
All the buzzwords of
And
the industry, I would say.
yes, and learning eventually how to increase our ROI and minimize our ad spend.
Right.
So, without further ado, can we please just introduce Insider to everyone briefly so that they have an idea?
Yes, of course, that would be great. Just to give a quick introduction about me, I'm one of the shareholders at Insider and also the growth director for Middle East and Africa. Have been working at Insider for the last 4 years, looking at the entire bit of growth and expansion across the region. Glad to say that we are now live in almost 10 countries across Middle East, Africa, and Pakistan. So yeah, kudos to the team at Insider and in Middle East and Africa. So what does Insider do? In very simple terms, like we are a growth management platform, which essentially with our machine learning programs and our AI programs, we help brand understand their audiences, like in very granular terms, like what is the audience doing, what is the user doing, and what is the intent there. So whether they have an intent to buy, whether they have an intent to window shop, whether they have intent to get a discount. And based on these intents, like we want to optimize their user journey and to ultimately what we want to kind of achieve for the brands and the businesses is to make sure that look, you have a technology to increase your revenue, increase your conversion rate, increase all the key matrices that you usually look for e-commerce. So that is what we have been doing. And of course, like in the last 9 odd years, Insider has expanded across 25 different countries. We work with close to 1,000 plus enterprise clients across all of these regions. And now we have close to about 700 plus local experts across the globe. And it's just amazing to see how it has grown.
Amazing. And now we are number one leader in G2 Crowd.
Yeah, we have been leading everywhere, I would say. G2 Crowd, Forrester, like it's been an exciting year. And G2 Crowd, I say 18 quarters at the leader position is quite a feat. It's not very easy to be the leader for such a long time
Yes, and
and
not
for such a
not
long
only
span.
a leader in one category, but all categories.
Yeah, as in like it's the last one that was released, like I was quite amazed like at the entire love that we got from the customers and the unbiased reviews that we got. So like I was completely overwhelmed when I saw that report and when we saw that like we are leading in all of the different parts of marketing technologies that are there.
Yes, it really is, and especially that it's coming from our partners and customers, which is totally transparent. So it's something
Yes,
that we're very
absolutely.
proud of.
That was what was more overwhelming for me because it shows the love for the technology, it shows the love for the company, and it's from day one that I started at Insider. It's always been partners and not customers. And that's, I would say, a mantra that we keep going along. Like, we are not a service provider, we are partners in your growth in every part of the business that you're trying to grow. I
Great.
think like that love shows right now.
That's why Insider is amazing. So let me shoot some questions.
Yes.
So, for example, let's start on your intake on customer buying behavior, how it has changed from becoming market centric to customer centric.
Uh, you see, a lot has changed in the last, I would say, 10, 11 years. Like, I think like my career has been about 12 years long. A lot has changed in the last 12 years. Of course, internet boom. And of course, in terms of information, everybody has information. You can buy things in a couple of minutes off the website also. But predominantly, like, I don't think so anything has specifically changed in terms of being marketing centric, customer centric, or product centric. Of course, customer is still king or queen. I will be gender neutral over there. So customer would be king or queen. But at the end of the day, what has changed is the amount of information that we have know about a customer, right? So previously, of course, you walk into a retail shop and you buy something. So the businesses have like extremely less data about you, who you are, what you're looking at, etc. Of course, the salesperson is still there, and they are trying to understand like what are your needs for the day, or what are you trying to buy. But e-commerce definitely has changed the landscape in terms of really understanding like what the users want, what are they looking at, how many times do they usually browse the website, how many times have they purchased, are they purchasing mostly with, say, coupon codes, or are they buying it off, like, say, straight off the price. So you can make so many distinctions among the users that you have that you usually don't get in retail, right? Of course, we still have the transactional data and everything, but it just gives you a much more deeper insight into what Heba is doing on the website, or the app, and what is Heba's usual purchase behavior. So more and more it is getting like, I would say, the industry has been always moving towards customer centricity, but at the same time, there is a, I would say, there is a very niche market that is going for product centricity, right? So of course, it's not everyone is trying to give you a rare product. So like, I'm a sneaker head. So mostly if you go into the sneaker industry, you would see how crazy people are. People pay $10,000 for a sneaker also, right? So that goes into product centricity, because at the end of the day, it's a rare product and you don't get it off retail, and it comes for a very limited amount of time. There is limited amount of sneakers that come in. So of course, it's a mix of both customer centricity and product centricity. However, for still the mass market, it is still customer centric, and you really need to know what the customers are doing. So that would be my take on this. And the landscape is just going to change more in terms of the data that we have, how the businesses are going to use AI-backed programs rather than depending on, say, the usual data that we collect, and then we have to go through this entire cycle of looking at that data, the BI teams coming up with the possible solutions, or possible segments, etc. Of course, AI is going to change that landscape quite a bit.
Of course. So now you would say there is a bigger emphasis on segmentation and audiences, right? Like, do you see this as a new way of retargeting?
Yes, as in, like, see, I started working in the martech space or marketing technology space 5 years back, and since the last 5 years, like, the emphasis always has been on segmentation. Like, of course, like, every marketer wants to segment and understand like which audience or which target group should I connect with more, so that like I get more revenue out of this. However, the part that is now changing is essentially, like I said, people are building, or businesses are building, their own propensity models, or they are using a third-party vendor like Insider to get their propensity models up. Because there are some things like you cannot do as a human, and that you have to leave it to the AI part to it, and how it can calculate certain things. And then there are multiple things. So segmentation, of course, has always been a priority for marketeers. However, the amount of segmentation points is changing, right? So it's not anymore like 10 points that I need about HEBA, and I can segment HEBA into different clusters. Right now, every business is trying to get like, say, 100, 120 plus data points on each customer to get to a proper segmentation and properly targeting HEBA with the right set of communication, right set of personalization, right set of retargeting also. And of course these things will change, like for example, like it till today, like I somehow get retargeted even after doing my purchase. So, and I'm sure like you must have also gone through it, like I do a purchase, I'm still getting retargeted through the brand on Google AdWords or Facebook AdWords. I think like that would also change in course of time, because nobody's going to make another purchase after they have made a purchase just about yesterday, right? So these are some, I would say, little hiccups, but the overall picture is like we will have more data. AI will be one of the main, I would say, component of any marketing tool or technology that will be there. And we will be, of course, like still dependent on, say, rule-based segmentation and historical data segmentation. But the new age technologies would actually start predicting what will be or when will Heva make her next purchase. So that would be the most important part that will be coming up, or the landscape, how it is changing probably in the next 5 years.
Amazing. So, how would you describe your experience so far with customer journey and personalization? How has it changed in terms of behavior and cognitive process? And also, how would you see this in decreasing the sales cycle?
Maybe you can rephrase the question a bit more, like in terms of
Sure.
like what, yeah.
How do you see the customer experience, customer journey, and personalization has changed in terms of behavior? And how did it impact on identifying new customers and decreasing the sales cycle?
Yeah, that is quite a interesting question. Now, I would say if we were talking about, say, even 6 years or 7 years back, most of the marketers could not even track their anonymous set of users, right? So if I come to the website, I do not log in, I do not give any information. It's almost impossible for that person to reach out to that person. But however, that landscape changed slowly and steadily, and then you could remarket them on Google AdWords and Facebook AdWords. Now with technologies like Insider, and there are tons of other technologies in the market who are now looking at all of these anonymous set of users also, right? So it's no more about that only we can only target those known set of users, but of course, like it is now changing in an organic way. And I'm not even talking about just running ads, right? So if I today go to, and I'm quoting Amazon over here, but they have been the leaders in the personalization space for so long. Uh, but somehow, if I go to Amazon, like I stick to Amazon for at least 15 minutes. It's like a twister. Like you start with one product and then you get inside it again and again, and then they are recommending the right products. And that is what most businesses would want to kind of do, right? Because the more the engagement that you have with the end customer, whether they are anonymous or whether they are known, the better products, or the easier I can do discovery on the digital channels, which can be app or web, the engagement would definitely increase. And then of course my time spent on the website would increase, which would eventually mean that I would buy something. Like I won't spend 15 minutes on Amazon not trying to buy anything. Definitely I have an agenda to buy something, but like the amount of products that I get, the reviews that I want to see, everything kind of combines together to give me that experience, saying that take a calculated decision of buying this product, right? And that's what is amazing, because now I can personalize recommendation, because my recommendation is going to be so different from your recommendation, right? And that's what most businesses are now focusing on, like how you can make sure that the discovery of the products become extremely easy. And of course, like the engagement increases. And if you recommend the right products, the sales cycle would anyways decrease, right? So of course, like I can, you need to have certain prompts across the funnel. Like if I have spent 10 minutes on the website and if I start leaving the website without actually giving any information, then I have to wait for the customer to come back again to give them personalized experiences. But before they leave, if I ask them for an email ID or a phone number or any other communication mode, then I can still get back to them saying that, like, these are your browsed items and these are like some other recommended items that I can send over email, I can send a web push, I can send an app push, etc. Of course, it all depends on how the business wants to change it also. So if you're very email centric, then you would want to collect your email. If you're more app centric, you would ask them to download the app, etc. So strategies, of course, definitely change. But if you know your customer really well and you have a technology, whether it is third party, whether it is in-house, if you can really segment them properly, going back to the second point that we spoke about, you can really reduce the sales cycle because you know your customers, you know who is at the verge of buying something, you know the intent of the user, right? So that definitely changes a lot of things for the marketers too.
As you say, you have to know your customer, but now since it is like a privacy-centric environment, so what kind of data do you think is crucial to have in order to scale up the customer experience, specifically in retail?
Gray areas, I would say. But yeah, as in, like, at the end of the day, with all the changes that are happening across the globe, 2018 it was all about GDPR. 2020 is all about 2020 was all about IDFA, and Apple changing all the things. 2022 will be all about third-party cookies being dismantled, and Google, I think, like, has given some breathing space. They are not going to immediately stop it, but like I think like some 6 months. So as you can see, like the dependency on third-party or third-party data is uh, reducing year on year, right? So you would hardly have anyone to kind of retarget if it is not your own user data, right? And because it is privacy centric, like, you need to take explicit permissions from the users at the end of the day if you want the user to share that data with other third party apps that are there, right? So it's changing a lot of landscape in that case, and we have seen like how DMPs have gone out of functions altogether, right? So DMPs were such a big thing back in 2017 also when I came to Dubai, and people were like, it was a really good technology because it helped marketers so much. But the moment like third party cookies were like abolished, it almost became a tool that could not be used anymore apart from some of the functionalities. So more and more that I speak to the different marketeers across all of these 8 to 10 markets, the focus is on the first party data, right? So of course you run ads, you acquire users onto your website or your app, but you really need a strategy to build your first party data. You need to really know their email IDs. You really need to know their phone numbers. You really need to create these unified customer profiles. You really need a strong CRM or CDP, or it can be anything else that you would want, or it can be inbuilt technology also that you're building. But if you don't have it today, you need to start today because the landscape will completely change by 2023. There would hardly be any third-party cookies. There will be hardly be any, I would say, affiliates through which you can reach out to the mass. Most of the user data will be only concentrated to the businesses only. So if today you don't start with first party data, it's almost imperative that you will go out of business in the next couple of years because it's just the beginning of privacy, and this is going to get stricter and stricter, and it's going to be even harder to kind of reach out to other people. So that would be my idea from what I've been seeing in the last 5 years and how the landscape is changing. So first party data, and everywhere I go and I speak to customers, I definitely give this suggestion and advice to them from my end also.
So, as you mentioned, it's mandatory to have a CDP or a CRM. So, there is a new buzz around this. What are your thoughts on CRM versus CDP?
It's a it's a funny situation, right? Like at the end of the day, it's almost like that question of chicken and egg. Who should come first or who came first? Ultimately, there is no right or wrong answer to this. Now, if you go back 2 years back, like the buzzword was all about AI and machine learning and all of these things that were there. If you fast forwarded to 2021, everybody is talking about CDPs and CRM. Should we use CRM? I'm confused. Should I use CDP? I'm confused. Like, what is the pros and cons to all of these things? Mostly, and I would say in 99% of the cases, it all boils down to what kind of systems do you have, right? You can also build your own CDP if you have really standardized data that you have been building right from the beginning or scratch of the company when it started, right? However, that is not the case in most cases, right? Like because you have gone through so many things, like there are so many different roadblocks that come when you're running a business. Like you have used multiple tools, you have multiple servers, you have put data into multiple data sets in different formats into multiple places, and ultimately after a year or 2 years or 5 years, you're not able to gather all of that data into one place, right? And see what is the holistic view of this customer, or how do I segment this holistic view. Now, it all depends. Like if you are still a small business and you don't have that kind of like data sets, or you don't have that kind of data need, you don't need a CDP as such, right? Because CDP kind of gathers data from multiple sources to one place, and then you can create any segmentation out of it. It is more relevant to people who have, say, more than 3-4 brands, have more than say X amount of stores, have crazy amount of data coming from Google, have crazy amount of data coming from their own digital touch points. However, if you are still a single business, like you have one website, one app, I believe like CRM is still the king, and then you can use a complementary product to it, right? And then build your own strategy to it. There is a third case also. Like I have partners that I work with, they have built their own CDPs, their own data lake too, right? So they are not dependent on any technology. They have connected and made sure that like they standardized all the data and they are making it flow into one data lake that is set. So that's also a third option. So the like I said, there is no right and wrong answer to it. It all depends on scale. It all depends on the multiple businesses that you run. It also depends on whether you have the bandwidth in the technology team to actually build something like this. If you have the bandwidth, build a data lake, connect it to different data, I would say third-party vendors, and your life is easier over there.
Correct. As you have mentioned, using several or multiple programs, my last question would be on how would you deliver ROI with multiple channel marketing programs? Or you can share with us, in other words, what practices have worked wonders for you?
One of the key things is having the right set of teammates and resources, right? So if you really want to deliver ROI and you want to say have a growth of about 50%, like just keeping it at like a easier way to kind of understand. If you want to grow 50% year on year, you need a great team, right? Because what I have seen is like, of course, like people buy into these buzzwords and they finally buy technology, but they don't have the people to run this. And that becomes such a big challenge, right? If you don't have the people to run it or analyze what you're doing, you will, no matter what technology you buy, like you will never be able to get that ROI out of it. However, if you have the right set of teams, and what I have seen across the region and across different partners, and I've onboarded almost 100 plus partners in the region, what I've seen is like if you have the right set of teams, somebody who is analyzing data, somebody who is really good with campaign management systems, these teams should be coming together in one place. Like teams also cannot have silos, right? So the first thing that most companies should focus on if they want to maximize their ROI is to remove these silos in the team first and data later, right? So if the teams all sit together, the designer, the BI team, the campaign management team, the CRM team, the ad team, all sits together and comes together saying that this is the strategy and this is how the flow of things should be. It actually, and I've seen it quite successful in a lot of companies or partners that we have worked with. If that strategy is right and you have the right set of people, you will be delivering ROI, right? And of course, like, then comes the second part of it, like how much data are you collecting about the user? Are you building your first party data? What kind of technologies are you using? Are you analyzing every campaign that you're sending it across? Like, I can send across 5 bulk emails every month and just look at revenue as a number, saying that, okay, I sent 5 bulk emails, just hypothetically speaking, I sent 5 bulk emails, but what is the ROI to this from a revenue perspective? However, if I go deeper, I can also, if you have a good technology, you can actually check, like, out of those 5, which one gave you the most revenue? Whether it was because of the subject line, whether it is because of the content, whether it is the type of products that you have recommended over there. And this can be replicated across multiple channels, right? So it can be email, it can be, say, new age channels like WhatsApp, it can be SMS. So if you don't deep dive into the campaigns, if you don't dissect what you're doing every month, whether it is bulk or very targeted messages, and you don't keep optimizing, delivering or maximizing that ROI will always be a challenge. But however, if you start doing today, dissecting every campaign that you're sending, dissecting every triggered communication or personalized communication that you're sending, dissecting all your AdWords, dissecting all the personalizations that you're doing on the website, you will have the right set of data to actually then start optimizing your campaigns the next time, right? It is, and it's almost like that Japanese word or the way of saying that Kaizen is the way of living, right? So continuous improvement, small continuous improvements is what you need. If you cannot find out those small continuous improvements, there will always be a part where it will hit a plateau, and then you will be like, what's next? Like, I cannot change
and there will be a gap as well.
Yeah, it will be a gap. Like, it's all about like how you are enabling your teams. You are giving the marketers the right set of tools, because like sometimes you expect them to work on Excel and do these things. Of course, like, you have limitations to Excel and other things. So if you really need to give them the right set of technology, the right set of teams should be set up, and of course all of these things, like, it's a cohesive at the end of the day. It's like any team sports that you're playing. If the team is playing well together, you're going to win, and that's what is the most important part. And you need to enable the team with technology. That is what I have learned, and that is what I have seen in, I would say, the last 5 years in the marketing technology space. That's what I have seen. Good companies have good teams and cohesiveness between the team. With the right set of technologies, they will be breaking, I would say, their ROI numbers year on year. That is for sure.
Amazing. Ashish, I honestly enjoyed it. It was really refreshing, and I actually learned a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's now that you have asked so many questions, like, I'm also going back way back in time, also, like when I started and all of these things that has transpired and how the landscape has also changed. So thank you for asking these questions. It's really amazing to see how the marketing technology space and even the retail and e-commerce space is changing. And super exciting times for everyone who is working in this, I would say, vertical.
Yes, indeed. And everything is changing every minute. I mean, in these times of uncertainty, but we have managed to prevail and reach higher grounds.
Absolutely. And we hope to keep doing the same. And of course, like, I will always wish that retail and e-commerce industries keeps growing, because that's what, if they grow, like, we also grow. It's we are directly proportional, right? So we would only expect them to boom in the next 5 years, which would obviously mean that the marketing technology companies are also going to boom by that same number. because technology dependency is only increasing. And then there is a new buzzword in the industry, and I'll just end it with that buzzword because this is going to be the buzzword for the next couple of years. It's something called headless e-commerce. So everyone is now going towards headless e-commerce. And I will leave you and the, I would say, audience to actually go through what it is. It's going to be very interesting.
This would be the topic of our next session.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Ajish, and hopefully we can have another session soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Heba, for inviting me to this. It was really lovely to have this conversation with you. Have a good day ahead, right? And a good week ahead.
Thank you.
Take care.